What's happening, everybody? Amp Capo here, Black Adonis Games. Man, I wanted to start this video off by obviously thanking all of my new subscribers that have subscribed since the last video. Man, y'all just keep making me happy, man, putting smiles on my face and inspiring me to drive and do more. Anyway, you guys can see I did a lot of work to the map here. I have built this and put it out. Done some cool additions to the map. The whole map is definitely loading pretty well. I set up all the schematics for the world partition. What I'm actually going to do right now before you guys' eyes is show you how the Minimap setup works out, and then I'm going to show you how I got the map, in what I did. Okay, it's not that bad. So let's go ahead and do it, guys. First, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this. This is called the Minimap here. I went in and I saw here under build, it says build Minimap. So man, in my mind, I'm thinking build Minimap, like it's going to build a Minimap for me so that I could use it, in my game on the screen as my Minimap, in game. Not that, guys. That is for your, this is for your, actually for your world partition map. Right here, you click build Minimap. It's going to go ahead and it's going to start building this Minimap, man. And it does a pretty good job. I think it takes about 2 minutes to build the Minimap. So I'm going to let it go ahead and build the Minimap. And then I'm going to pause the video and then I'm going to come back and I'll let you guys see what the result of the Minimap is. All right, guys. And so when you're done building your Minimap, you should see a display something like this. You could copy this message. I don't know. It's giving me a little sign like this is something I should pay attention to, but I just pressed OK. And then what it's going to do now is it's going to build the actual Minimap. Boom. You'll see it snap like that. Now when you go back in the world partition, there's my map. So there it is, guys. And then here's where you can say show cell coordinates, show actors, and it'll highlight the actors. So this is real nice, man. And then also it can show the cell coordinates so you can know which cells, which actors are on. And this will help you in the spawning process and controlling your level and controlling what spawns and when, and even help you to set up your level. Like, see how this building is across so many different cells? I could plan that now, knowing how the cells are on the map beforehand. I could plan this a little bit better, knowing this knowledge now and having this map. So it does generate a mini map, but I think this is the only place that I can use it in. Who knows what the future will bring because of this, though, because to me, that's a mini map, Should be able to maybe use that as my actual mini map. So this is pretty cool stuff, guys. It looks real good. Everything's loaded. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I actually did my map. Let me go ahead and save all this. Man, today what I'm going to be doing is just some straight from scratch newbie here for a lot of people. I did a lot of these things real fast and I didn't get a chance to show people how to set things up. So I'm going to go ahead and start this little series off here with just showing you how I have my setup. So when you first install, you're going to see this screen here where it says consider changing your editor preferences, load level at startup, and things like that. So all this is telling you, and I did go over this briefly in another video, but I'm gonna just do it here again. We're just gonna kick it from scratch, guys. We're gonna go in here, and what you want to do is go over to edit. You want to go down to your project settings. All right, and then we're going to open this up and we just want to go to maps and modes. All right, and see, this is the default editor overview. That's what you're seeing right now. That's that tan default screen there. We don't want that. What I suggest you guys do is set up front end, the same one that you see here, because in your project, this is how it's going to play. Now if you want to work on a specific level, and you don't want to go through this front end every time, just leave this front end here and go and change the top one to whatever you want as your first level. So I chose shooter gym. Okay, so I'm setting this up like this for a reason. Okay, so now it's gonna take a little second to do that, and it should switch up and switch this to shooter gym. So now I'm gonna go ahead and double click on this shooter gym so that we can open it. All right, and then once we have shooter gym open, you should see this image here. Look familiar? It's in the middle of the map of my game. All right, so of what I set up in LYRA, I should say, because it's not my game yet. Just me messing around in LYRA for future front end for my game, possibly. So here you got a little bit of everything. You got some spawners, you got the ammo refill, you got the healer here, you got the damager there, and you got 6 spawn coordinates. This is nice stuff. All right, guys, we got our control points. So what we want to do now is I'm going to get into what people have been asking me about is how I put a world in here. And I'm just going to show you here in this brand new kit. So what I did to get my world in was came here to this gym, okay? And in the gym, what we want to do is we want to select everything. So let's go ahead. We're going to select everything, all right? This is the easiest way that I saw to do it, all right? And then I'm going to just move this over some so we can actually see. I'm going to get rid of things that I don't want. I don't want any of these setups here. I'm going to keep this nav mesh for now. We'll worry about setting it up a different way later. I do have another video on setting up the dynamic nav mesh, so you could check that video out. But that's going to be the next part of this. I'll try to cover a little bit more in depth for someone that's a little more new. So we're going to get rid of the lighting. I don't want any of these things, and the reason why is because I'm going to show you guys right here how to get the world partition going with this setup. So it looks like I deselected everything, and if you guys don't want any of these, you know, pieces, just don't select any of these cubes, because that's what makes this little playground up. But I'm going to show you guys how I deal with that. So if you want to follow along, just do it exactly as I'm doing. It'll work out in the end for you. So we got sphere reflection capture. We don't really need that either. All right. So now all we should have are these things minus what you see I've taken away. And we're just going to right click these things, and we're going to say edit, and we're going to say copy. All right. Now, guys, what you want to do is you want to go here and you want to open, you press new level, and we're going to do open world. And you could do like empty open world if you wanted to. That's very possible to do. I'm pretty positive. I'm just going to show you guys exactly how I did it, though, because I was just learning and I wanted to be safe with it. So I just actually used this regular open world. I press create. Okay, and so what it's going to do now, it's going to create a new open world level based on a third person point of view or first person, however you set up your setup. So all I did was I came here. So now that you have this, guys, you could actually, if you want to, just click anywhere, and then I just put edit, and you could put paste here, or you could just put paste. I put paste here. All right, and then you can just take everything and drag it until it's at a height that's acceptable to you. We could go around, and like I said, and if you don't actually use the blocks and stuff, you know, you'll just have to set things up kind of where you want them at. All right, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and look around here real quick. All right, and just make sure, and I set this up, yeah, this is right practically in the floor. That's almost perfect. All right, guys. So if you go here now and don't press anything like I just did. If you did accidentally press something, just press Control Z, go back. What you want to do is click this little create folder. I want to put all these items in their own folder. So I'm just going to call this gym area. All right. So now we have all of these things in this folder. This is the reason why this is important, so that if you want to get rid of things out of here in the end, you know right what folder this is. Now you can select all of these cubes if you don't want them here, and you can press delete. And now all you have are the things that are required, your spawn points and everything except for the gym. I just kept the gym because it's just a structure to be there for right now. But just notice you can always do that. I'm going to Control Z because I kind of like having it there for right now. It'll be something to block characters from, you know, being able to just jump on you. And so from here, you can take these objects and move them wherever you want in the level. This is already set up as world partition. So you can move all these things and scatter them around. The main thing I'm going to scatter around right now are just the starting points, because that can get pretty crazy to have everybody starting right on top of each other. So I'm just going to be taking these and moving them and just spreading them out a little bit so that we're not right on top of each other at the beginning of the game. All right, so you just want to take each one of these player starts. And see, me, I would organize all this a lot more organized here in the outliner. I would actually put all of these player starts in one place folder called player start. That's just me. I break things down like that. It just makes it a lot easier to find them later on when you need to find them. Stay organized. It's a big part of development. So, you know, you got to try to stay organized in your life. So here we go. And I'm just going to move one more. I'm just picking some random spots, guys, and kind of dragging these out. Probably going to still be somewhat by each other a little bit. I'm just trying to move them here and there. All right. So now, guys, we got all that together. The problem you're going to have right away is that your characters are not going to want to move anywhere, even if you move this nav mesh bounds out. So we're going to take care of that next, but first we want to go ahead and highlight your nav mesh bounds here, and if you want to see it, you can just press the letter P on your keyboard and it should show your nav mesh bounds for your project. So you can see it right there if you press P. All right, so now let's go back and highlight that nav mesh bounds. And if you didn't see it, you want to make sure it's not highlighted when you press P. You want to just click the actual landscape and then press P, and then we can go ahead and click back on the nav mesh bounds volume. So what I'm going to do here now, guys, we're just going to stretch that out. So I'm going to go ahead and we are going to use the scale, and we could just do this with box size. This is a pretty good size level. So I'm going to go ahead and take this camera speed and move it out to 5. I like to have it at 5, and it's 244. Yeah, there we go. So that's a decent speed. All right, so we're going to go ahead now and we're just going to pan out a bit. And as you can see, this is a pretty large landscape. And you can obviously change this and do whatever you want to do. I'll show you how to import your own, but this will just be a good way to get you guys started and at least have you already in a partition level. So the next thing you want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to set the size of this, and we could just go down to the box for the nav mesh bound. So if we go to general and you scroll down, and I'm just going to bring this up a little bit, you got your brush settings. I'm just going to set this to like 40,000 and click it and see where it goes. All right, so that's pretty good. If you really want it to be bigger, you can. Let's do 80. All right, so we'll do 80 by, this is pretty big, man. Yeah, we'll do 80 by 90. All right, So you're gonna see it start to grow here. If you have objects that are taller, and as you can even see here on the landscape, some of it's not being covered, just go ahead and increase this number here as well. I usually make this pretty high, like 1,000 or something, because if you got buildings or things that you're gonna have people traversing, there's no problem with having it be that size. All right. And if you have nothing in those areas, it doesn't really make a difference because then there's nothing for it to scan. But you're going to see it go ahead and it's going to get over the edges of some of these little mountains here as well. And then it'll stop. All right. So this is our full nav mesh, guys. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a save all. And we need to title our map. So I'm going to put open world test. All right. And we're just going to save that. And the thing is, you see here where it says shooter gym level, it has this in that same folder. This is your plugin folder, guys. So you want to make sure that if you're saving something in the plugin folder, when you update, you're going to probably need to make another folder or transfer those things to a different folder. I usually will move them in the beginning. I usually will just save what I make to another folder. I'm doing it in the plugin folder because I'm actually testing a theory as well, because I was saying I was having some bad references, so we'll get into that later another time. So now we got all this set up. All right, we got our 80 by 90. We could go ahead and turn that. We could actually leave this P on if we want to. It doesn't matter, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to press play. And then let's see how this acts, guys. I haven't had you press play yet. What you're going to see here, boom, it starts off and you're this little thing, okay? So this is not what we want. And that is because the world has to be set up correctly. So if you get into the world and you realize you're this little dude, I'm going to tell you what you got to do to fix that. So let's go ahead and escape. Just say stop playing in editor. And what you want to do is come to your world settings here and see how this has default game experience. Now, if you're used to Unreal Engine 4, you have what is just game mode. This experience in LYRA, this is a whole different setup here. So now we have what's called experience, and I'm assuming that these things are more soft referenced than these standard game modes are. So anyway, you want to pick the experience that you want. So if you want it to be the front end, you can pick the front end, and then it's going to show you the menu and all that good stuff. If you want to just go right into a battle experience, then you can pick one. I'm going to pick elimination. All right, so you can pick any of these and they're going to give you a different experience. Front end is going to be where you get the menu, you get to choose to start the game, all that stuff, okay? And this is one that if you're testing, you don't want to keep having to press those buttons every time you test. So you probably just want to pick a mode, game, control points, or elimination. Go ahead and select it, all right? And now we should be able to go ahead and let's press start and see what happens, all right? Let's get it on. All right, so loading up. I'm here. I can move. And you see everybody's moving, so that's really good. It's a good sign. All right. So that's us and an AI. There should be 2 more AI around here. Our competitors. I don't see them though. Oh yeah, I see one over there. All right, guys, so there we go. And it looks like this is working right out of the box here. And before, when I did this, it didn't work right out of the box, so there's something different already. Couple little glitches, man. It's a fresh project. All right, so everything should work. All right. So the next step, guys, since we did that, you should be good to go. Now, you can go and you can do whatever you want to these maps and everything's going to be fine. Now, what's supposed to make this more efficient by Epic terms is to use a dynamic uh, mesh. So I did a video on that already, but I'll just go ahead and go through it again here. All right. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go in and you want to turn on the features. So we want to go to project settings. You want to go down here to where your nav mesh is. You want to click on that, guys, and you want to go down and you want to change this runtime generation. It's defaulted to static. You just want to switch this to dynamic. Don't put modifiers only, just put dynamic. Okay, then next you want to click on this Nav System here. And there's something called an invoker, so just type invoke. And you want to generate navigation only around navigation invokers. So go ahead and turn this on, all right, guys? So once we got that turned on, we can go ahead and get out of this, and we're going to go into our character. So let's go to the content browser here. And we just want to go to where we have our characters. You want to click on this and you want to go to your cosmetics. This is where I did it. I'm sure you could probably do it on this default character because I'm thinking all the cosmetics. Let's just double check and make sure because that'll make it easier. Let's see if they, so they're just a LYRA tagged character. So actually it is better to just do it there. It doesn't really make a difference. So let's go ahead and you want to just double click on your Manny. All right, and we're just going to open this up and we want to press add and you want to put invoke, navigation invoker. All right, so you want to add this to your player. I'm going to change the settings to what I want because the generation that it shows here is pretty large. If it was just a player, that would be cool, but since it's AI. And what I want to do is we're going to go back here again and I want to press P so we can see the nav mesh. And since there's no one on the level, you're not seeing any nav mesh. So that means that that is working. So now what we're going to do is just drag a copy of this character out. We're not going to leave him in the game. We're going to drag him out here just so we could use him for example. And there you go. So now you can see your nav mesh is there around the character just as it's supposed to be. But it's very large in my opinion. That's way larger than I needed to be around that character. I want to try to maintain the same ratio though. So it looks like it's 3:5. So I usually make mine smaller. Let's do 1,000 to 3,000. Okay. And then what we can do is once you move the character, it has to update the nav mesh. And that should be smaller than what we had. We need to compile this and save it. All right. And then once you move the character enough, you'll see the nav mesh shrink around the character. And there we go. So to me, that's a much more acceptable size for a character of this size. All right. And so now that you have that, we want to do the same thing. And all I would do here is just go and you can right click on it and copy or press Control C. All right, and then we're just going to go back into our drawer and we're going to get Quinn here. I'm going to open that character up and we're going to do exactly the same thing, except for this way it'll be easier. We could just paste the one we already edited, so we don't need to take care of that, and we're going to compile and save that. Now, there's a setting I want to bring up while we're in here as well, guys. This in here next to your compile, you'll see these 3 dots. If you click this, it'll say save on compile, and it says never, always on success only. I always put this on success only. The reason is that I always want it to save. When you're in the engine, man, save is your best friend because sometimes things crash out and you still lose the save. So save as much as possible whenever there's an option to do it. But I don't put always because then if I have a bad blueprint and I do something and I save it, it may not let you go back and undo it sometimes depending on the circumstances. So that's why I say only on success save. If I have a caution then and I'm still working on a blueprint, then I'll just press save here myself. All right. So that's just a little tip, man. Always make sure that you're saving and you can set it up here. Okay. And then jump to error node. That's pretty cool as well. Like if there's an error, you can press that and it'll take you right to the node, first node in the line here, if it shows errors. So anyway, guys, there we go. We have the nav mesh invokers around our two characters. We can delete this character. We don't want a character in the level when it starts, but we know we have our nav mesh invoker. So now, guys, you have all of that.